Welcome, guys, to our new podcast, Two and a Half Men. My name is Lewis Walters, and I've got Howard Jones and Lewis Ross. Unfortunately, Lewis is a Liverpool supporter. Howard is a Villa supporter.
I had to get that in.
I'm an Arsenal fan. The reason for our name is because these two are blessed in a height department. Because Howard, you are
6'3".
Expect Lewis, Rossi, how's all of you?
I'm 5'10".
And me, I am 5'6", so I've never been lucky enough to feel what that top shelf feels like.
Never.
So never. So with this podcast, what we're going to be discussing is all the action from the Premier League. We'll also be discussing some bits to do with England and that sort of thing. So yeah, get into it, boys, shall we? Is everyone all right?
Yeah. All good.
Yeah, I'm good, man.
So I've got a nice little setup going on here. So is Howard, and Rossi's on in his chair in his pants.
I'll get it sorted.
So as we said, boys, we want to talk about the Premier League. So how do you feel the first 4 games have gone so far?
You go.
I think it's been quite interesting. I think the surprise to everyone is West Ham. Everyone thought from the back end of last season, obviously playing Europe all the way to the end and winning it, and then not like setting the big player like Royce to Arsenal. But I think they've spent that money brilliant. I don't think they've really shown any signs that they're missing him. Ward-Prowse has come in and filled the gap. That Alvarez looks like he's going to be a decent player. The only thing I would say, I'd say they would need another striker after selling Schumacher.
Definitely. I think looking at some of the fans, what they're saying is that they're actually glad that Arsenal have took Royce off their hands. So it's just a bit laughable.
Yeah, because I think the team was built for him, and now you're going to start seeing all the rest of the players coming. They're just relying on one player.
Yeah.
I do think they're going to get caught out at some point because it's.
Yeah, I think they will. I think that we'll see. It's inevitable that they're going to drop, and I think they'll probably finish mid-table at best. I can't see them pushing for Conference League or Europa League or nothing this season.
Do you think?
Yeah, West Ham are the surprise, but I still can't get the fact it's been 4 games and the only real test they've had is Chelsea. And if you're thinking about teams on paper, yeah, I don't know. But I'm surprised that they are up there because I didn't think they would still win those games, and they have done. And Brighton as well. I kind of expected a drop off, and I know we're at the point that no one's played those extra games to cause a problem. When they say if you're in Europe for the first time, it's going to cause a problem because they're going to get tired and stuff. We haven't hit that mark yet, so for them to get off to a good start and the way they're playing as well, is just amazing. Yeah.
We've said previously in discussions, off air and everything, that I've said that this Brighton team reminds me of Liverpool back in 2017. They just get at teams, and they just they're not concerned about conceding goals, and they're not really doing that much either. Really, they've got 12 goals, conceded 6. So
I think the only game that got caught out was the West Ham game. I think that was just a matter of West Ham took the chances and they didn't. I think it could have been the other way around.
The so it's that game could have easily been turned very quickly, and I think that's where I think West Ham are going to get caught out, because I think not that they're riding their luck, because they obviously create your own sort of look, and Alvarez and Paqueta in the middle just look absolute gravy. So,
and I think they did really well to keep hold of Paqueta.
Yeah. Definitely, especially with Man City snooping by. Obviously, there's a few reasons why they ended up pulling out, but they obviously yet to be proved. So, but it's West Ham's game, isn't it? Really. So, who's I think probably Chelsea. I was actually really looking forward to watching them play, and they're so disappointing. The games that you're watching, the football's not even exciting. It's boring, and the team just isn't fluid. I look at that midfield and think that's not £200 million midfield. It might click eventually. I'll look at the stats of where they have control over the pitch, and they have a lot of control over the games that they have. But I don't know if Jackson's it, and Cuckoo's obviously a massive miss, and Reece James getting injured as well, so he obviously contributes to it. But you should still be able to win at least two of the 4 games you played. Definitely 3, but they don't even look like winning any of the games a lot of the time. So
yeah, to be honest, when the draw was the first game of the season, I was thinking, you know what, Chelsea look all right. I don't know if it was we played so bad or Chelsea played good, but
yeah.
After that first game, I thought, you know what, Chelsea got some here. They've signed some decent players. They're looking all right. But after that game, they haven't really done anything. I mean, they scraped to win against Luton. It weren't convincing.
No, it wasn't convincing at all.
I don't really get what. I don't really see a style of play yet. The Pochettino play hasn't really come through. I think it, and I say that loosely because he had a style at Tottenham when he was there. But since then, to be honest with you, he's tried to put his style in there, and PSG didn't take that style on.
No.
And I don't know if Chelsea are the club a bit like PSG, where they've just got a lot of egos, maybe. And I just can't really think it up. I don't actually know if did he bring all his backroom staff with him, or was it just him taking it on? I think he brought his staff with him, I'm assuming.
I think he did. Well, it usually did. I the managers usually bring the coaches with them.
So but then it's only 4 games in. But there's games that I suppose they've won the games I've expected them to win. And against Liverpool, they always seem to turn it up. They love to draw against you. I think they always try to just get a draw. So I think that it's mad. I think that's gone on for too many games now. I think it's good 6-7 games in a row.
Yeah, we do draw them a lot.
Yeah, been crazy.
I think one of the points to make as well is that you look at Pochettino also being a previous Spurs manager, and that can soon turn on you quick on it. Yeah. Like it's happened previously with other managers that have gone to other clubs that have been rivals and everything like that. And as soon as them fans get on your back, it's hard to turn back from that. And so I think Chelsea will stick it out because that's what they're trying to do. It's not like their old regime where it was, he's not doing well, let's get rid of him, bring someone else in. It's definitely obviously a project, and probably a word that I hate the most because it seems like any team that struggles, we're in a project.
In a transition, yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's always a bit of a pain.
To be fair, they are in a transition, and like you say, Pochettino's got to have time because bringing on new players in, young players, well, there's not really any proper experienced players there. Hence why Reece James is captain and Chilwell's vice captain. Because last year you wouldn't have even thought of them to with the experience they had. But now they're such a young team. I mean, they're coming with the idea they're not buying any player over the age of 25. I mean, that's a big risk because I don't think you can play your starting 11 without sort of some leader and some older experience, no one to guide them.
No, I agree with that completely.
It's the time that I don't know if Poch is going to have. A bit like Potter, like it wears thin with Chelsea very, very quickly from the outside in.
They're very impatient.
Yeah. So, and if he's doing this, which is right, getting young players for the future, because that is a future plan. That it rarely works where you buy a bunch of young players and it works. So they need to allow him time. But
plus, I'm not happy with them. We've taken Caicedo and Lavia off us.
Yeah, well, was he even close? Really, I don't think he was even close to getting them. Really, right?
Well, I think the Caicedo one, he sort of just stuck to what he said, didn't he? He said he was joining our house, but Chelsea, fair enough.
Yeah,
but Lavia, I really thought he was joining us. I mean, it was our fault because we bidded 10 mil less of the asking price. Then we went in for a 5 mil one, which is sort of taking the mick, and then when we actually wanted to we put in, was it a 58 or 60, something like that? And then, obviously, by then, he'd already agreed to join Chelsea. It was just too late for us. So, it's our own fault. And that's why I think it's a panic buy for Endo. Klopp says it wasn't, but I see it as a panic buy.
It is a panic buy. I totally agree with you. We'll move on to our teams in a bit. But what do you guys think about Man United? How you feeling about the first 4 games?
Yeah, we do first.
Yeah, they're not really good to watch, to be honest. And And if I was a fan of their clubs, I would be a bit worried, but they've been worried for the past three years. So there's probably
gotta be longer
nothing
than
new.
that.
Yeah, so there's nothing new to them in that. But I don't know, just and we said this off air as well. The media just love to rile them up. So
Yeah.
everything seems to be some massive, like everything's a problem. Like they haven't got any control of the players. Like all these players are going up, and it's maybe a coincidence, but it's not good luck when most of your players are either doing things they shouldn't do. Like with Anthony, you've got Jaden who's talking back and doing bits and pieces against the manager, and then Ten Hag is made to look like he hasn't got control. But I think that's just the narrative that sells stuff, and they're just going through that. But I don't know. I still think every time they have a bad season, they're always fighting for Europe. So I don't think that's going to change this year.
Yeah, I think they'll be round a bit though.
I definitely look at them, and I just think I'd love to know who's there picking the players out to buy, because you brought Mount, so you've gone there and gone, okay, our midfield's going to be Fernandes, Casemiro, Mount, and then you go out and you buy Amrabat. So it's lucky that Mount's got injured, because obviously he could then slot into the team, even though I've just seen that he's just had to pull out of the internationals because he's injured as well. But then what was your plan? What was you thinking of doing? Because clearly you can't play all those 4 players, and I know you've got a long season ahead, but you've spent 60 million on it.
Yeah.
So what's that plan going to look like? You're not dropping Casemiro, you're not dropping Fernandes. So the only place that's up for grabs is that position. So, and yeah, just the rest of the team's just a little bit disjointed for me. I think obviously Shaw's a big loss, but I just feel like if it's not going for Rashford, then they're not really going to score. Because look at the Wolves game; the Wolves absolutely dominated them. And I'm from Wolverhampton, and the other games they struggled in and stuff like that. They had good possession and everything like that, but they should have rolled over Man United, and then they should have had the penalty at the end. Because
that was a clear penalty. They said it on Sky, didn't they, when that ref watch thing, and Mike Dean said it was a clear penalty.
Yeah.
Man, that looked good in the ring, wouldn't it? That was punchy. Damn. So, but yeah, I'm looking at the rest of the Premier League, and you look at the bottom, and you just think it's not far off what you would have thought it'd be. You've got Sheffield United, Everton, Luton, Burnley, down there at the bottom. I know only Burnley and Luton have played 3 games, but I think some of them have done some good battling. Like, yeah, I know Luton have done a couple of good games where they battled, and Sheffield United probably feel a bit hard done by. It's not going to point out.
I was saying to Howard, was it yesterday, that about Sheffield United? I think if out of the 3 teams that got promoted, I think they're the one what could possibly stay up. I was saying Burnley, and I know, like we've said, it's only 4 games through, but Burnley look like a bit of a mess.
Mm-hmm.
The company system's not working, and it seems to be like when he goes a couple of goals down, it's just like a scattered mess on the pitch.
Yeah.
And I think Sheffield United, just off seeing that Sheffield United and Man City game, they played their art out, man. And I think if they can play like that throughout the season, I think they give themselves a fighting chance, especially with teams like Everton and Wolves really struggling this year.
Yeah. I do like a team trying to stick to their guns in the way that they play. Like, I look at Burnley and think, obviously, you wanted to come here and play football, but look at that Man City first game, and they just got played off the park and just picked apart and absolutely destroyed. So, yeah, it's always a strange one when you probably don't bring in the players that you need to support the way you want to play. But yeah, should we talk about Newcastle?
Yeah. They've to be fair, their first 4 games are tough starts. So they steamrolled Villa, which was a hell of annoying, but they did that. And to be fair, away from home, I wasn't expecting to win, but it's a hopeful draw at the very least because they were really strong at home. But then all the other games, they are really tough games. But for Newcastle, where they want to be, they should be competing in those.
Yeah.
So they lost 1-0 to City, didn't they? And they didn't perform well. So I think it could have been more. It wasn't a close 1-0. Then obviously Brighton just dismissed them. I can't remember who else they lost to.
Liverpool.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a choke and a half.
And that was
how can you be
yeah.
1-0 up?
I can't
A
believe I
red
forgot
card,
that game. Yeah. It was.
and then Nunes to come on and score a double.
It's games like that that makes me look for like reactions online because I couldn't believe it when I heard the result
Yeah.
and how late it was, and
Yeah.
just seeing that the fans go absolutely crazy. And yeah, so but I've seen a lot of Newcastle fans blaming the manager already in terms of the substitutions that he's making. I may think it's a bit early, and I don't watch the club as much as they do, but there seems to be a common theme that he's not making the subs at the right time. So, and that's we'll see, because then the next game's against I don't know who the next game's against actually, but Brentford. And
That's a tough game.
Brentford are tough. They're another one I'm really impressed with this
They're
season. They
like-
look so solid, man.
They're like the new playing Stoke on a wet, cold Tuesday night, I think. Like, it's
Yeah.
sort of the team you don't want to play against.
Yeah, but it's always, you look at it and just go, oh, Brentford. And
Yeah.
then it's like, if you come out of there, I think even if they get to your place and you get 3 points, you think we've done well there.
Yeah,
But
they are so
there's
good,
a lot
man.
of teams. There's a lot of teams like that in the Prem. You look probably 15th place upwards. You think all them games stuff. Even when we play Palace, like Arsenal play Palace, I think this is a game we could trip up on. It's a game we could start on and stuff like that. So, shall we start with you, Howard, with Villa? How are we feeling about Villa, mate?
I'm still feeling the same. I think my expectations of this season were what Unai I think is good at is beating the teams that we need to beat. So and so far we've done that, but we haven't competed as much as I wanted to in the games that we need to compete in. So the Liverpool and the Newcastle. So
that's what I was putting in the face, because
yeah.
done well in the games we needed.
I know.
To.
No, but
Liverpool beat Villa.
I don't think they did. No.
I don't think we beat them. I think we smashed them.
I thought it was just 11 men on the pitch. I thought Villa were watching from the sidelines. That's right.
Say that the common denominator.
Villa just didn't turn up that game.
No. But there's a common thread in both those games that we lost, and we lost a defender that was key to whatever plans we had in those games after one goal or after 1 goal deficit. So Newcastle lost Mings at 2-1. That affected them, and we see it, and we lost Carlos after 1-0 as soon as he changed, the plan changed, and then you scored again. So I don't know if that's a common theme. It won't happen in every game, but there's something about that transition between plan A and plan B, because we probably would have lost those goals anyway. But
it was going to happen anyway.
Yeah. So but it's just it's interesting how those happen on those games. So I can claim to that, but we didn't play well because we were down when we lost those players anyway. So who's to say?
It's like subdued, isn't it? This is what I did like Emery at Arsenal, is that he seems to come up with these plans and they just don't seem to work sometimes. It's like, why are you pushing your players all the way up to near enough the halfway line, the defenders? You're inviting balls over the top. You've got Trent and Robinson who are best in class at doing stuff like that, and him just feeding those players over the top. And then he didn't fix it until it was too late.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's frustrating. I can imagine it's frustrating. So I expected Villa to compete quite high up this season. I wasn't expecting them to probably crack the top 6, but I thought you'd probably be knocking on the door at least. I know you're only 10th at the moment and there's a lot of games to go, but this signs aren't there at the minute. But like I say, you've got some bad injuries and that defence needs obviously a bit of work. So yeah, it's a bit tough. So
yeah, it's going to be, the next few games are really important, but we shall see.
Yeah,
I think you need another striker as well.
I think pushing Ollie may be an option. When it was pushed last year, though, he didn't perform, and when we took that option out, he's performed. So I don't know. We've got a young Duran who's not going to push him
if he's injured.
Yeah.
You're sort of going to have to play like a false 9 sort of thing, ain't you?
Yeah, because it's all heavily on him. We've got a bit of variation, but you are right, they're not a number 9, so we have to wait and see.
Yeah.
But I know he's planning to juggle Europe and all the other cups as well. Is on the card for him when it wasn't on last year. It was just pure focus on getting somewhere in the league. So it will be interesting. 2 losses and 2 wins isn't the worst start, but it could be better. I just wish we competed more in those games that we lost, really.
I was speaking to someone earlier, actually, and there was a Villa fan, and they said that you look tired
Tired.
because you played in the Europa against Hibernian.
You can't do that last season. You can't.
No,
you
I
really,
know it's early, but I mean, sometimes you hear a lot of pundits say where it can take like 5 or 6 games for you to get fully match fit again from the break.
Maybe. Well, we'll see what happens after the break.
I think it could be a slow start, and then come just before Christmas, you could be floating around the top 6.
Yeah, this is why I like the Premier League, because we're judging teams on form after 4 games. It will flip. It can flip in 4 games. Literally, the points in the table means if all the top didn't win and the bottoms did win, it will literally flip.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's going to be. That's why I mean, after the international break, it will be really interesting. But we've got Crystal Palace next, so at home, our home's just our strongest. We were doing bits last year away, which helped us go up the table so much, and that was unexpected. But we were always strong at home. I think we've won. This is going to jinx it, but I think we've won 9 on the bounce at home, which for Villa is like
that's really
Man U's.
Yeah.
We've had Man U and other teams there that historically always win at Villa Park, so we've managed to keep that up with them. So the next few will be very interesting.
At least Liverpool got a bit of payback on Villa from what happened last time.
There's 7-2.
Well, that was like 3-4 seasons ago.
All I've done is chipped on that tally. I think we're still up on the tally just by like a goal for that 3 seasons. But yeah,
we'll get on. Go on, Rossi. How do you think about Liverpool so far?
Honestly, I think we're doing better than what I thought. I thought we weren't expecting the sales of Henderson and Fabinho, so to get Szoboszlai and McAllister in when we did was like perfect timing. But I think not getting Caicedo or Lavia and then signing that Endo off, weren't happy with that. I think that Endo was a panic buy. But the rest of the team, they look decent. Alisson, quality. For me, he's the best keeper in the world. That's my opinion.
Well,
I think
Emi Martinez just seems to have got that title. Just saying. I don't know how, but I do know how. But yeah, I think he won the World Cup. Yeah,
but so they're going to give it him, and if Brazil won the World Cup,
exactly.
Got it.
Exactly.
It's not they have to give it to him. Anyway, I would have liked to sign another centre back because I don't think Matip's got the legs anymore. Joe Gomez, I want to bring Villa into this. I think he's a liability, just like Tyrone Mings. I think they can have a good game, but also then the next game could be terrible.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're a bit rash as well. Kanate, you can't keep fit. Van Dijk, he's not the same Van Dijk as he since he had the injury against Everton. As much as I hate, it kills me to say, because obviously at one point a few seasons ago he was the best centre back, but now you're looking at players like Ruben Diaz or Saliba as the best centre back now. But yeah, I think the midfield are adapting quite well. I think Szoboszlai is bedded in. He looks like he's played for us for a couple of seasons. I think he's been our best player.
Yeah.
I think we've done well to keep Salah for this window. It was a lot of money, but I don't think we could have took him to risk the chance not getting Champions League. Because I think he'd be part of the keeper, obviously, with all the goals. And I think Núñez just needs to start more. I think the whole Gakpo and Núñez switching between them each game, and I think that's not going to get you fighting in the top 4. I think you need to have a set number 9 and sort of each player knows the place. And I like Núñez to start because I think against Newcastle he showed he can be clinical. But I think a bit more time and you can see him getting 15, 20 goals this season.
Yeah, I would have, as I've said like previously, like off like screen that I would probably like to have seen Liverpool without Salah because I do genuinely think that goal would be shared out a bit more. I think Diaz would step up. I think like Núñez would, and I think Jota would. I agree with you that you shouldn't be swapping Gakpo and Núñez because you play 2 different ways then because Núñez is explosive and he's thinking Gakpo is a bit more of a refined player. So, but I think it's nice to see you actually have a midfield because before it was actually you play down the wings. The best way to get through Liverpool is to get through the middle, and I think that's going to be a big problem for teams now. So I think you do look dangerous. As I said to you before, I think looking at that old 2017, 2018, I think you're going to get a lot of goals. I think there's going to be goals galore coming from everywhere. But then I look at that defence and think it's pretty weak.
It's ropey, isn't it?
It's very fragile, isn't it? And like, I feel about Trent. He's fantastic going forward. I think he's going to give you you give you 15 assists, but he'll concede 14 goals for you, which is always a shame. So you look at the rest of the thing. Obviously, Robinson's great, but I think what always makes me laugh is that Klopp's always saying that this defence needs work, but it's been probably the most solid defence for the past 5 years than any other team in the Premier League. But yet they still can't get it right, can they? So, but hopefully with that Milton performance, it'll be a bit stronger.
They look like they've never played together. That's the feeling I'm getting. I mean, they look lost. Like they can't seem to keep the offside line.
No.
Like against Newcastle, I mean, we've talked about the red card, haven't we? We've had split decisions on what it is, red card or not. And I think because of where it was, and there's a possibility it was a goal scoring opportunity, that's why the red card's been given. But either way, if it was yellow card or not, Van Dijk before would have not made that tackle. He would have guided him out towards the corner flag, away from the goal, and made it difficult for him to even get a shot off. But Van Dijk, he just ain't got them legs anymore, so he panicked and swiped him. And that's what cost the red card.
I agree. Like you say, it's just not how he would have performed before. So, but like I say, exciting times for Liverpool. But, I'll touch on Arsenal a little bit. But I do want to, fortunately, give a shout out to my rivals in Spurs because I think they've been very impressive. I think Maddison. Just, and it looks like he is just... I think he is just the glue for that team because he just makes them so much better. But then you've got to give big shouts out to Basuma and Sarr because they just look like Basuma just looks like a completely different player. The way he's moving and everything like that, it looks like the tackle have been released from him. Postecoglou has done a fantastic job. I still think that they're not going to be top four because I think there is going to be some bumps along the way. I think there's going to be, I don't know whether they think to stick with Son up top now because obviously they've got that exciting winger and stuff like that. But
don't forget Brendan Johnson.
Yeah.
It's going to be very interesting to see what they do because I'm expecting a drop off as well, but they haven't got any other commitments apart from the domestic cups. So I don't know. Part of me thinks it could continue. If they're lucky with injuries, Maddison's been last season for Leicester. He wasn't consistently fit, was he, for a while? And he was very important to them. Obviously, they needed him back, and that's one of the reasons why they got relegated. I think because he wasn't fit for that many games. So if they keep him fit, they've got every chance. But it's changed. The manager's changed the way the players look. They look like happy, smiling on the pitch. It's weird. It's weird to see, and I think the media hate it as well because they used to saying. I used to love the fact that Spurs were Spurs the last 2 seasons. It was unbelievable how.
I'm never going to say it. Never going to say the word.
But
never going to say that word.
Just most games, they just did things. It's just like they just shot themselves in the foot. But again, 4 games in, they've changed that for the 4 games. So just have to wait and see.
You wouldn't believe they've just lost the highest goal scorer and finished 8th last season, would you? How well they look and how happy the fans seem and the players have gelled together. It's like they've won the league last season. That's how they look.
Yeah. But I think it's lucky because if by any chance it was the other way around, I think it would have got toxic quick there. So, but they've won their games convincingly. So it's proper taken away that kind of fear. If it was a close victories or if they even lost to Man U, maybe. I don't know.
I literally just about to say about the Man U game. I mean, this ain't a dig Arsenal, but I think Spurs dominated Man United more than Arsenal did.
Mm-hmm.
I think there was more convincing. I think Arsenal was the better team now, without a doubt, but I think Man United just opened up a couple of times, made them look a bit weak. But obviously Arsenal did what they did for all last season and just polished them off.
Yeah, man.
That's a nice move on quickly. That is, 'cause I don't want to talk about Spurs too much. Jesus. So, in regards to my team, it's been a weird old start because it looks like Arteta's trying to turn into a bit of a tinker man, and he's trying to do some new things and stuff like that. It's a little bit confusing at the start because obviously move White into the middle, he's playing Partey at right back. Then obviously we lose a few players, including Partey, and then he's got to make changes and then revert back to it, and we just look a lot better. I do think, like, I want to see Havertz succeed. I do, because I do see a player there with talent, but it's rather one of them where he's going to cost you a game, because if you look at it, the Man United game, he was the reason why we conceded that goal. He'd done a lax pass, and then he's through, and yeah, so you can't help but look at it and just say that was his fault. But then you've got players like Fabio Vieira coming on, and they're getting assists. So I would not be shocked if in the next game that Fabio Vieira starts over Havertz, because it just seems like he deserves that opportunity instead of going, we need to stick with this player. But I look at the rest of the team, and if we can keep that same 11 that we've got in the Man United game, obviously Vieira in for Havertz, then I can't see why we can't challenge for this league this season, because we haven't looked great in these first 4 games and we've won 3 of them. So what we're going to look like when we're firing on all cylinders. But we've had the control in all the games. It's just we've been a little bit lax, going, we're a bit too comfortable here, or we can let our guard down here. So we go like 2-0 up or 1-0 up and we think we're fine here. That's where we're a little bit lacking on Man City. Man City can go 1-0 and see that game out most of the time. Whereas we kind of get to that 80-minute mark and we get a little bit touchy. But looking at players like Saliba, Martinelli, and Ketty has been decent. Saka's obviously unbelievable. Odegaard, class. So yeah, I'm excited to see what the rest of the season looks like. But I'll take this start. I haven't been blown away by Arsenal, but I'll take 10 points from 4 games, definitely.
Like you just said, you ain't been at your best and you've still got 10 points. So if anything, you're just going to look better, play better, and all you've got to do is keep winning, because that's all City are going to do. You can't do nothing else.
Okay. Go ahead. What was you going to say? Sorry.
No, I was going to say about you being in the Champions League. It'd be interesting to see how you navigate that. So it's exciting because
it's a lot.
It's a lot. So it'd be.
We've got a Europa League group stage though, so it's all right.
It's all right.
So sometimes that's worse though, because there's more pressure on you to do well.
Yeah, well, yeah. Well, to be fair, when you get 4 favourites in the odds and you haven't been in the Champions League for 5 years, I don't know what that says about the Champions League, to be fair, but that's a compliment to us. But yeah, so should we have a discussion about this England team?
If we have to.
Yeah, because luckily Rossi's had to go away and do a bit of homework, because every player he's brought up hasn't been called up.
What's with the digs at me, man? Come on. Right then. So, what do you want to talk about? Who your 11 would be?
Let's talk about the squad that got called up first, because I think it's interesting to see, and there's obviously a lot of controversy there, especially the players that have been called up and the players that have been left out as well. And I look at what like Rio Ferdinand said, I think it was yesterday. He was talking about Sterling, he was talking about Ward-Prowse, and he was even going as far as saying that these players should retire, because it's so disrespectful that they have been called up, and players like Henderson and obviously Phillips, Maguire have all been called up, and these players must be incredibly frustrated. So, what do you feel about this squad?
I'm going to split between. There's a few players that I don't think should be in the squad, like Maguire, for example, because that really it doesn't make any sense. I don't understand how he's in there after all the stuff.
I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing because you'll be interested later on.
Oh no, you haven't. Anyway, I understand his form for England is
incredible.
What it is. It's amazing. But it contradicts what Southgate was saying about how he will pick players that need to be playing at the club, and consistently, because if he plays once in a blue moon for England across a year, I know he's training every day, but his competitive form will probably dip because he's not getting that constant challenge. But that's a threat that Southgate has to navigate. And to be honest with you, I like Southgate. I think I may be the only one in the world that does. For what he's done with the squad, in terms of how the squad are and how, like, you know, they all seem happy. You know what I mean? There's a relationship there. It's not that. It feels more like a bit like a family, and it's showing, because this has been the best England side we've had since we won the World Cup, the finals, and the competitive the nature of where we are. It's the proof's in the pudding. But I think people may be a bit too harsh on Henderson. He's essentially he was in the England squad before when he was at Liverpool, and he's left, and it's only been 4 games, so his form's not dipped. Like, it doesn't take your footballing ability away. I can understand if he goes on, he shouldn't be in the squad, but I know he does bits in the squad as well, because he's that guy, isn't he? He's the vice captain, isn't he?
Yeah, I believe he's captain. Yeah, I do. I do.
I agree with what you're saying in a certain degree, but even as a Liverpool fan, I will say there's still better players out there than Henderson. Like you just said, Ward-Prowse, he should definitely be in there. He's a set piece specialist. He just brings everything to the game more than what Henderson would.
Yeah, no, I do. There's more England players that should be given a chance. I definitely do agree. And especially with the quality that we've got and the quality of the opposition as well, it's probably the perfect time to play them.
Yeah.
So I do get that argument. I'm just trying to justify the players that he has picked. But you are right. I think Ward-Prowse, he should have been in it a while ago, because there's so many, like, kind of set plays that we would be able to do, like corners and free kicks and all that stuff, that not just to win them all. If you imagine if you got the combination of Grealish, for example, and then Ward-Prowse, because Grealish wins free kicks, that's what he does. He wins those things, and in dangerous areas, Ward-Prowse will be major, but Trippier's also good. We've got quite a good few, and Trent as well. Like, there's like Kane takes them, Maddison as well. Like, we're blessed with a quality squad, man. The only area is in defence, I think. That's just because we haven't played people long enough to prove their worth in that position.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's what I think of the squad.
Yeah, I think my thoughts on it. I'd understand maybe if you've called up Maguire because you're looking at the team and going, there's not a lot of experience in there. But I think when I look at it and look at the keeper and go, okay, Pickford there's been a mainstay for many, many years. Walker's obviously in his 30s, he's been there for many, many years. Trippier's been there for a very long time. I think Declan Rice has got enough experience. Harry Kane's got loads of experience, and even players like Rashford and players like that have got a lot of experience. So I don't really think you can use that argument to say that's one of the reasons why we've called him up. But yeah, I agree with what you guys say. Calvin Phillips should be nowhere near this team at all. He shouldn't be anywhere near this team. I think he should have moved in the summer. I think that would have helped his cause a lot more. Same with Maguire. I think because you've got to be looking at the future. And Henderson's definitely not your future. Maguire is definitely not your future. And I'm not saying that obviously Ward-Prowse is, but there's players out there that you can give a chance to, or because even if you bring Ward-Prowse in, there's probably a chance that he's not even going to play. Because if your argument is that he can do set pieces, look at Trent can do set pieces, and he struggles to get in the team. So and maybe he wouldn't even get a set piece if Trent's in the team as well. So I think it's definitely one that I look at this team and think it is strong in a lot of areas, but I think it's very weak in a lot of areas as well. So it does kind of worry me. And I do love Southgate. I agree with you, Howard. I think Southgate's done a great job to get us where we are, and it's a tight knit group. You look at the teams from years ago; they were never a team. There were players playing for clubs, and they all hated each other. They all like. If Kane scores, Saka's chuffering. It's that sort of unity there, but I just think his style play is just too cautious. I think he's too concerned about letting these attacking players just go off and be able to win the game and do it in an attacking manner. But I think it's quite strange that a lot of these players come from top clubs that press the ball a lot, that win the ball back quickly and able to defend in numbers, and yet his first primary thing to do is let's go full defence before we think about going.
He's very defensive, ain't he?
He's very, very defensive minded, and that's why you have all these debates about would Southgate get a top six club. I don't think he ever would. No one's ever come knocking for him in the time that he's been England manager, and you'd say he's been successful, but no club's ever come in for it.
I don't think he would get results fast enough, but he's a good manager to turn around a club. You know, like to bring some sort of ethos in and to build like I reckon he would. I know it sounds interesting. I've just thought about it, but like a Chelsea needs someone like him to ground the club or do something to like bring them all together or something, because they just seem all apart, just all over the place. But he wouldn't be a top. Would you call Chelsea a top six club now? I don't know.
Not at the minute, because you don't finish 12th and then time it to be a top six club, do you?
No, definitely not. So should we do some predictions then, boys? Because we've got Ukraine.
I just want to say one more thing about Southgate. I think he'd be an absolutely terrible club manager.
I don't think he'd be that bad.
I think he's a tournament manager. He can be good within a couple of weeks, and then after that, you'd bottle it. Even in his early days of management at Middlesbrough, he was absolutely awful.
I'm loving this pen, Howard. Is that your pen?
Yeah, it's my daughter's. That's the only one I can write in. Yeah, I do see what you mean, but I actually think he will be good, because I think that was before. I think he's learned now because he's been successful somewhere and he's done things. I think those skills will be transferable. We will probably never know, but it'll be interesting to see what happens after he leaves, because I don't think he doesn't sound like he's got a drive to go to another club. To be perfectly honest. So maybe punditry, I don't know, maybe just in the England setup still in some way, shape or form. But yeah.
And you signed him earlier about him being a good manager. I think he is. You said like you're the only one person in the world who likes him, but I actually like him because he's brought a feel-good factor to the team. They're actually a team. It's not like separate it was before. It's like Liverpool, then Arsenal and Chelsea, United players all in their own groups. They're gelled together. And I think he's got probably the hardest job in the world, because we've got so much young talent and talent what's there already mixing together. And it's hard for us to sit here and put them down on a piece of paper what we think. But imagine being there in the hot seat, picking these players. He's got the biggest headache in the world.
Yeah. Even I've got a headache from it, bloody hell. So, do we start with our predictions? If we start with Howard, so obviously we've got Ukraine on Saturday. So, what do you think the team that will start will look like? Give us your opinion.
I'll give you formation first.
Formation is 4-3-3.
Interesting.
I've gone for Johnston in goal, just because.
What?
Because this goes back to my point earlier. I was saying I like to see players I haven't seen before play for England. I've seen much of, and I like him. And he started this season really, really, really well actually. So I'll put him in. And to be fair, they've got 3 to choose from. Pickford's not been doing so well.
Is that like Pickford or Everton though?
Well, it's a bit of both really, because I don't know. It's a bit of both. Don't get me wrong. He's saved them on games, but the only game he saved them on this season has been one, and that's the one against Sheffield United, really, where he pulled off that triple save at the end. But yeah, anyway, I've gone with who I've gone with. And then I've gone with Trent Tomori, and I've gone with a name I can't ever pronounce. So the Crystal Palace defender.
Him.
And Trippier, because again, I want to see fresh faces. I like the potential with Trent being at the back, only because he can come into midfield and do bits as well. And I like that whole kind of, we've got a lot of clever players, man. So in the middle, for example, I've gone with Jude, Rice and Maddison. Jude and Rice are actually really clever players if
Yeah.
Trent was to come forward, I know Jordan Rice would be happy just to go back and
Drop back.
fit in. It's not a problem. And then I've gone for, I don't know if I'll mention my left back. I put Trippier at left
You
back.
said that, yeah.
Just that, okay. And the front three are Foden, Kane, and Saka.
Interesting. That's
Now,
interesting.
you remember when we had a team with, well, we have a team now of just ballers, you know, that are just they're clever, that can just interchange with 1-2s and all that stuff, and we haven't ever played them all at the same time.
So basically,
I just
you're
wanted
saying
to see
you
what it was
want
like.
a bit of flair in the team.
Yeah. Now I know this is probably against the Southgate ethos because he likes people to still be strict, and I know you need that in football, but I think these players are clever enough. I mean, he allows Kane to drop deep. Kane's the only one with the freest role on the pitch because he can literally play where he wants. For England, he plays where he wants because he's, to be fair, I think when he goes old, I think he could drop back into a midfield role quite easy because he's got that. But that's my team. Foden, Kane, and Saka up front.
There's definitely some surprises now because the Trippier of left back, Foden left wing. I think I thought you would have gone Rashford. To be fair, I do think our midfields are probably going to be the same across the board. I think defence and attack maybe is where it's going to be. So, Rossi, what you got for us, mate?
Well, I've gone in goal for the keeper none of us spoke about, Ramsdale.
Oh.
I think I'm going to speak by player as I go through. I think he's probably, if not one of the best keepers last season in the Premier League. And I think he's never really had that proper chance for England. And I think with the tournament being next year, you need to get him in the team now to see if he's the actual better keeper. So they can sort of bed in a number one. Because I don't think Sam Johnston is. I'm sorry, I just don't think he's good enough. I think Dean Henderson's better than Johnston and Pope, and they're not getting him.
But absolute lies.
Honestly.
Okay.
Right back, I've gone with Walker. I think he's just solid, and he's just reliable.
He is ridiculous. Yeah,
and he's for his age, he's just rapid. I mean,
ridiculous.
Yeah. Centre backs, but probably be most surprising for you too. I've gone with Maguire and Colwill.
Okay, why?
Because I think Maguire is he just plays for England, and like Bale, he's golf. Maguire's England. I think
golf.
Maguire for England, he just.
I thought you were going to say Bale Wales. I thought, oh yeah, okay, because he was performs for Wales.
Because he went golf Wales, Real Madrid, didn't it?
Yeah.
I think Maguire. Over the last couple of tournaments, you can't take away from how good he's been. He's just been unreal. I know I always say that players not playing for the club shouldn't be playing for the international team, but it's just that one player who just always puts in that 10 out of 10 performance for Southgate.
Yeah,
I don't think you'd do it for our next manager. I think they must have a good connection between him and Southgate.
The only thing that is stopping Maguire from not being in the squad is a mistake. If he makes a mistake for the national team, I don't think he will be included again.
Yeah,
personally,
he got a few in his last few England games. He made a few mistakes, and he still sticks to them. So I just think until something really happens to him, or we get a better defender come through, I think you're right. I think he's going to stick in the team. So it's unfortunate. Who you got left back then, mate?
Well, I'm going to speak with Carlo. I think he's probably been one of the best centre backs in the league so far this season. And I think that the fact he's a left-footed centre back as well, it's like a better version. It's like a better version of Tyrone Mings.
Man, the Tyrone Mings hate is just palatable, man.
And
that's crazy.
I think that he's so young as well.
Version of Tyrone Mings.
Yeah.
I think that the fact he's so young and he's quick and he's strong, I think we've needed that sort of centre back. And I think I'm not even disrespecting Mings, but we've tried it with him, and it's just not worked out for him really properly at England, has it?
No.
And that Gueye, I do like him, but I've not really seen enough of him to decide that he's good enough to be in the centre backs. But I've seen more of this Colwill because obviously I watch more of like Chelsea than I would Crystal Palace.
Yeah.
I just like him. I think he should be in. Left back, I've gone Trippier. I think he's very versatile. He played left back for us a lot of times. And I just don't rate Chilwell. I think he leaves a lot of gaps in defence. I think Trippier is just better on the ball. He's got a better pass, set pieces. And we're going to need him for set pieces because I've not had Trent in my team.
You haven't had Trent in your team?
No. So I've gone for a 4-2-3-1. I've got two defensive midfielders, 3 attacking midfielders, and a striker. So my defensive midfielders, I think they're quite obvious. It's Rice and Bellingham. I think Rice. Both of them. They can both offer you everything. Both good at going deep. Both box to box sort of midfielders, and I think Rice, surprisingly, showed me how good he is actually going forward. Towards the end of last season, and obviously for Arsenal so far this season, I can't believe how good he's at going forward. It means that he started his career at centre back, and I think he's going to go on to be one of England's best midfielders. And I like there's lots of Gerrard, Lampard, Scholes, but they never actually really cut it out for England because the system was playing or the management, whatever reason why it didn't work. And I think Rice will go on and really take it to the next step. Bellingham, there's a lot to say about him. He's 19 and he plays like he's been playing the game for 10, 15 years. He's just unreal. I mean, I think for Real Madrid to get him for 80 odd mil, whatever it was, is a steal. No one's really speaking about it because he's gone to a foreign club. We're all speaking about Caicedo, 115 mil and stuff, but I think Bellingham has got to be the signing of the season by far.
Yeah, I agree.
He's class.
So I've got my left attacking mid. I've got Rashford.
Right.
I think he played well against Arsenal. I don't really think he's dipped out of form from when he did last season. I think Man United as a whole has been bad, so I think Rashford he's playing well. He gives you a different option of sort of goals, and on that left side he's lethal. Centre attacking mid, I've got Maddison. I've said to you guys before off camera that he'd be my first pick in this England team right now. I think he's been arguably the best player in the league for these first 4 games, so I think he'll go on it and he'll take. I think Spurs obviously going to do better than last season, but I think if he can keep fit, like you said earlier, and look the likes of Son and see what Brennan Johnson does, I think Spurs can touch around 6th, 5th, maybe even push for top 4. I mean, I know it's hard to think about that when you've got the other teams in, but Newcastle did it last season.
Yeah.
Right attacking mid, it's got to be Saka, ain't it? There's nobody else. It's unbelievable. So young and talented. I mean, but you think about it, a couple of years ago, he was playing left back for England, and it didn't really suit the team, and nobody really raised him, didn't know really what to do with him, and now he's arguably Arsenal's best player, along with Odegaard. And I think he just brings so much to the game. He's so young. He's like Bellingham. He's got the same mentality as Bellingham. They're so young, but they're so older-minded. With our team so talented, it's actually frustrating that we've not won anything yet.
Yeah,
scary.
That World Cup, I know, like the World Cup, it was still coming to the back end of like our older players from before. But these younger players, what come in, I think the Euros, we probably should have won that
easily.
And then striker, I've put Kane in, but going on to what Lewis says about Kane, is the way of play is quite obvious. And he's going to slow the team, because that midfield I put in, he's going to slow the team down. But the reason why I've put him in is because when he does slow the game down and he drops back in, then into like a number 10 most of the time. Maddison loves pushing forward, Rashford and Saka cut in, and I think that will make it work in that system.
You say that about Kane, but you know what he's gonna do, but you can't stop him.
Yeah,
he's been doing it for seasons. Like you just can't
That's why I couldn't not put him in. And plus, he's the team captain.
Yeah.
I mean, it looked a bit bad if I didn't put the captain in one in.
Would look a bit off, yeah.
Put Nketiah in for the captain.
Yeah.
But he's the other player I do want to speak about. He's Nketiah. I think since Jesus has been injured, Nketiah's come in and he's been unreal. Like nobody's really talking about him, giving him enough credit. I think he's been called into the England team for a reason because he's been noticed by England, and I think he would go on because Kane's probably got this tournament, maybe another one, his best. I think Nketiah is going to come in and fill them boots.
We haven't had a striker like Nketiah since, I'll say probably like Defoe, someone like that kind of natural ability in front of goal.
Yeah, it actually reminds me exactly like Defoe. That's a good one to put next to.
Hopefully you get some time. So, all right, I'll go through mine then. So, and this first one is definitely not influenced because I'm an Arsenal fan. I do truly believe that it should be in goal, and that is Ramsdale, because I do see the similarities between him and Pickford, because they are prone to make mistakes. They're very like energetic goalkeepers and stuff like that. So I do see the similarities, but I just think when your club is constantly at the bottom of the league and you're taking constant shots and everything like that, you're going to look good because you're constantly getting a battering. Where as with Ramsdale, and we seen it last season in the Liverpool game, the save he made from Salah was just flipping unbelievable. And I think it's times like that when you're not under the cosh all the time, sometimes, and then a shot comes out of nowhere, which Alisson, Edison, these keepers do very well. It's to have the concentration across 90 minutes, where someone like Pickford is constantly under a barrage of flipping, getting shots at him all the time. So that's why I would go Ramsdale, because I just think he's the better keeper. I think it's nice that Johnston's got in there. I think Pope's going to feel a certain way about it, but I can understand why he's not been put in there. My right back, I've gone for Walker. I don't really need to say much about Walker.
Mr. Reliable.
Honestly, I feel like this guy, when he's 50, is still going to be playing right back with the same speed. So, but yeah, absolutely unbelievable. And then I've gone for Tomori Colwell, because I just think the rest of them just aren't that strong. I think Gabe getting there. I don't trust Maguire at all, just because he hasn't played. Nice to see Dunk in there. I think he does deserve a call up. But I just feel like I've always liked Tomori. I think sometimes there is that bias that some players go over season and just get completely ignored. But he's won titles. You know what I mean? You've got a player in there with all that experience. There isn't many in that back line who've won titles, like in the centre back position. So, and then McCall, he's a young player. I think you've got to put someone in there, cement him in, and hopefully they'll bring him up. So, I haven't gone Chilwell for left back because I just feel like he's consistent in every area. And I know what you're saying, you think he leaves gaps and things like that, but I do disagree a little bit. I think he's just constantly good at what he does. He's kind of jack of all trades. He's good at going forward. He knows when to go and when to stay, and he defends very well too. So I couldn't see a reason to put Trippier there. So
he's a proper left back, isn't it? Like, because there's so many like left back or right back, they look like you can put them in midfield or do whatever, but he's just a left back. Like, I can see he's very good at what he does. Like, I can't see him in a midfield. Yeah.
So my midfield, I kind of struggle with this really, because I look at Bellingham and I see him for Real Madrid, and he's playing like that false nine centre, it's like cam area and stuff like that. It's I thought it was quite strange. For me, it's quite strange to kind of pull him back a little bit, because I feel like we're kind of putting a leash on him. So, but I have gone Rice and Bellingham in the middle, because I just think Rice is class. I think what will happen is that Bellingham will push forward, play that box-to-box role, and then Rice will just sit and just obviously sway left and right and pick off all the balls out of there. So, and then I've gone Maddison at Cam. I was looking at Foden, but yeah, I do think that Maddison does deserve his chance to be in the team. It does seem like that Southgate has got this thing about him where there's something about him he doesn't like. But we had this with Grealish, and then Grealish eventually gets into the team. So I've gone Rashford on the left because he's just a pest. He will just come up and he's a game changer. He could do nothing for 89 minutes and then just score absolute bangers. So I do think that Rashford does deserve to be on the left hand side. I think Saka is just. I've got Saka on my right wing. I think he's just an unbelievable player. I think he's getting close to world class for me. He does all the parts of the game to a very, very high standard. Every game, they have to have two players marking him because he's just too much of a handful. So, yeah, I believe that he's got to win there. Rossi, I thought you were going to burst and laughing then.
No, because I was trying to not to laugh while you was talking, because I like you say he's world class for me, because you knew we was going to probably say something.
I said he was getting to world class. I never said he was world class yet. But he's getting there. But he's one of the best.
Last season, double figures and goals and assists. Not many players do that.
No,
speaks for itself, didn't it really? So, and then I'm on Kane up top because I just think sometimes it does concern me that as we've discussed, that Kane can just run off, and sometimes he does drop into that cam role. But I think what the difference between Maddison and Foden would be is that Maddison would be happy to go and push on, where Foden doesn't really have that instinct to do that that well as well as Maddison. So I think if they do switch, I think that will work. So that's the team I've got. And to be fair, there's not too many changes amongst most of us, apart from someone putting Johnston in. But other than that,
Maguire. I thought Maguire.
Yeah, Maguire's probably the nailed-on choice to play in that team. So, but yeah, we have been going for about an hour, which we actually generally, before we started discussing doing this podcast, we didn't think we was talking. What was it? Howard, 10 minutes?
Yeah, I was going to say just a quick 10 minutes, a quick hello. This is who I think will win, and then see ya.
I think Howard was drinking when you said that.
Yeah, I think I was.
But the one thing we should actually say is none of us have picked Grealish.
Well, he's injured.
Oh.
Yeah.
There's another one. There's another player we picked up in the squad. I want to play Ben White.
Don't ask me for information because I'm late.
Definitely not. But we have got to wrap it up because I've got 3% on my phone and it's about to die. So what I want to say, guys, is thank you. And what we want is you to like, subscribe, share it amongst your friends. We're going to be doing loads of shorts and things like that. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this first episode, and there's a lot more to come to us. So thank you from me, Lewis Walters, Howard.
Thank you very much, guys.
To Rossi. So cheers, guys. See you later.
Bye.